Let's get the madness started here on this Saturday afternoon. Going to discuss Major League Baseball's playoffs. We'll talk about what's happened so far, what I think is going to happen, and then talk about a change that I think needs to occur, like yesterday, with the playoff format. Before I begin, though, do me a favor, guys. Click that bell notification button. It lets you know when I drop new content as I drop it. Also, like, share, subscribe. You know the drill by now. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. All right. Let's get this party rolling. This year, the Los Angeles Dodgers won 106 games, one of their best regular seasons in franchise history. They were one game shy of being tied for the best record in all of baseball. Literally a two-game swing could have changed their fortunes. Yet, for their record and for their efforts, the Dodgers get rewarded by having to play in the round that I consider to be the play-in round. To me, this wild card, one-game winner-take-all is no different than the field of 68 in those first four games in the NCAA tournament. The fact that a team as good as the Dodgers are with a record like that is playing in a one-game winner-take-all is fucking preposterous. All due respect to Rob Manfred, this man needs to do something about this playoff format. He needs to reshuffle the deck and reseed based off of records. If you want to put together a committee that looks at strength of schedule and all the other fun jazz that goes beyond that, do it. It's not like baseball isn't full of math and science already as it is. What's another added bonus? To prevent us from seeing a team as good as Los Angeles having to play a one-game play-in and run the very real risk of losing. What a disaster that would have been if the Dodgers would have lost that game. And it's not like there wasn't a realistic chance. They were playing the hottest team in baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals. Meanwhile, you have Atlanta, who won 18 games less than Los Angeles, playing in the best of three divisional series. Los Angeles had to earn their way in, but Atlanta didn't. What's wrong with that picture? And I know people will hear this and say, but JP, this doesn't reward the divisional winners if they reseed. And, the Dodgers didn't win their division. I don't give a shit. It rewards them. You're not taking away their divisional crown. But can you honestly, with a straight face, look at me and tell me that the NL East is on the same playing field as the NL West this year? Other than Atlanta, only Philadelphia finished with a record above 500, and barely. Hell, the NL East wasn't on par with the AL East, who had four teams with over 90 wins, and all of which were in contention up until the last day of the regular season. This easily could have been Toronto in the playoffs instead of Boston and New York. This crap needs changed, and it needs changed in a hurry. Number two, the wild card round loss to me masked a lot of problems that the New York Yankees are facing. This team went for gusto at the trade deadline. And I'm not saying they gave up top 5, top 7 prospects. But then again, that farm system is so deep and so loaded that these players they traded away very well could wind up being top prospects in their new organizations at the start of next year when the rankings are released. They gave up a treasure trove of potential future talent, of high-ceiling guys to bring in Andrew Heaney, who is now no longer with the organization. He's gone. He didn't even make it to the end of the season. He did not play in the play-in game. Joey Gallo, who hit a .160 and struck out 88 times, and his numbers were in the toilet in the Bronx. And Anthony Rizzo, who I'm fond of Rizzo. I've always been a Rizzo fan. But, number one, he's a free agent at the end of the year. His time is up. Do the Yankees honestly go out and drop a lengthy contract and big money to somebody who, with due respect, I think is much closer to the end than the beginning? Oh, by the way, this pissed Luke Voigt off. He's probably gone now. He's probably going to get traded in the offseason. And you know what? This was an unnecessary move. No disrespect to Rizzo. Although I will say he is one of the only acquisition that played with a pulse. He actually played his heart out in the wild card game. But I digress. Bigger problem that I think we face here. Garrett Cole, $324 million. That's a lot of coin, guys. And they paid Garrett Cole for situations like this to come into a one-game situation where the stakes could not be any higher and to shut the door, to earn that W, to keep the Yankee fans' mind at ease. He hasn't done that. He goes into this game against Boston and gets shellacked. Doesn't even last 3 full innings. Gives up a couple of homers and quite a few hits. More hits than he should have. There's problems going on in New York, folks. There are big problems going on in New York. And I'm not saying the Yankees are going down the toilet anytime soon, but this team gave up way too much, got way too little in return. I'm sorry. Joey Gallo, yeah, he hits for a ton of power, but $160, that's fucking embarrassing. And you look at his numbers across the board, his OPS was down, his OBP was down, his slugging percentage, all took a shit in New York. And honestly, if this is the type of return you're going to get, keep your prospects. You could have gone out and signed Chris Davis off the dumpster pile for the same thing. And it has to sting for the Yankees fans. Speaking of dumpster pile, the guy that beat them in the one-game playoff that pitched for Boston was Nathan Eovaldi, who once upon a time the Yankees dumped on the scrap heap. They've tried. They tried to go out and become the Yankees of old that threw money at everything and threw caution to the wind, and it blew up in their face. I don't know if they can afford that going forward. Number 3, this Houston team looks really damn good. I'm not going to say they're going to win the World Series. I'm really not. Because, frankly, I don't trust Dusty Baker as far as I can throw him when it comes to October situations. He's had a chronic history of shitting the bed in the playoffs. Doesn't look like they're going to do that against Chicago. I mean, they went out there and wiped their ass with the White Sox. And granted, you're talking an experienced team that's got a ton of mileage in terms of October. And I say that, it sounds like they're all old. They're still a relatively young team. But you're taking on a White Sox team that minus Lance Lynn, Craig Kimbrell, and Liam Hendricks doesn't really have that kind of experience in October. This team looks good, though, and I think it's time we finally put to bed all the shit that happened in our last World Series run. The Spygate, the filming, all the sign stealing. I think it's time we could finally let that go because they're removed from that, and they're still playing damn good. Said, do I think they're going to win the World Series? I'll tell you in a minute. All right, lastly, Tampa Bay. I think this is a team of destiny, and I'm telling you right now, I hope they win the World Series because if no other reason, to shut Stu Sternberg's ass up and put to bed this asinine, ridiculous proposal of the dual cities thing. This isn't the fucking Arena Football League. This isn't Bush League baseball. This is the major leagues. This is America's pastime. Having teams split time between 2 cities on a regular basis when health isn't, health crises be damned. I know they had to with the Blue Jays. They had no choice. But that's not a permanent arrangement. Stu Sternberg's talking about this being one, where they split half the year in Tampa, half the year in Montreal. Good luck getting Montreal fans to settle for that one for a long period of time, and good luck getting Tampa Bay fans to agree to this. Nobody's going to want to split their girlfriend with another guy for half of the year. Here, you get her for Christmas, Thanksgiving, I get her for the summertime. You don't want some other dude putting their dick in your girlfriend's pie. I mean, I'm sure there might be a couple of freaky bastards, all right, that are out there that are all right with this cuckold bullshit, but the majority of most men, they don't want to share their women. What self-serving man does? And it's the same way with this Major League Baseball arrangement. Believe me, Montreal may be opening wide now for this possibility that, we'll split the team, but once they get a taste of that pie, they're not going to want to give it up. And Tampa damn sure isn't. And frankly, I know people will say, well, no, nobody goes to Tampa games. Well, you know what? There's a lot of varieties, a lot of variables behind that. A lot of variables. That stadium's in a shitty location. It's hard to get to. Bottom line, you put this team in Tampa, and they will come. And regardless of all that shit off the field that's going on, which, by the way, Stu Sternberg damn near, put up advertising during the playoff push in the stadium. Was going to do this during the playoffs. Talk about a big fuck you to the city of Tampa Bay and the fans that do go. I hope they win the World Series. And I hope they shut Stu Sternberg up. I hope somebody steps up to the plate and buys this team and gets rid of this piece of shit. And this proposal goes the fuck away. On top of that, look, the Rays have been the model of consistency in Major League Baseball. They don't spend any money. This team makes brilliant trades. Look, that Chris Archer trade was one of the best trades, or worse, depending upon what side of the coin you look at, a team has made in the last probably 25, 30 years. They absolutely bent the Pirates over the barrel, just on Shane Baz alone, let alone Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow. I will never understand what the fuck Neil Huntington was doing with that deal. I didn't understand it then, I don't understand it now, and I never will. Can you imagine these players with the Pirates? But that's the Tampa Bay way. They produce. They move on from talent. They bring more in trades. And we're not talking hot prospects. We're talking under-the-radar guys. We're talking guys nobody talks about that come up to the plate and become studs. They do everything right. They do it all by the book. And I hope they win. They deserve it because this franchise is long overdue. Let's wrap it up by talking about predictions. American League. I don't need to, sound like Nostradamus here, but I think that the Astros are going to beat the White Sox. I mean, they're up 2-0. They've just shellacked Chicago in this series. It hasn't been close. It hasn't been competitive. They kicked the shit out of Lance Lynn. They beat the hell out of Lucas Giolito. This team's not getting stopped in this round. I thought coming in there might be a slight chance because you got the Tony La Russa factor versus Dusty Baker. You're talking a guy who has a ton of October experience versus somebody who shits the bed more often than not in October in the Fall Classic. But that talent, that experience level, just too much, way too much. So I think the Astros wind up pulling this out, whether they do it in 3 or not. I'm going to say they do. I think they close it out here in Game 3. Tampa, Boston right now tied at 1 game apiece. Look, I'm going to Rays here, man. I look at this Tampa team, and from top to bottom, I don't see any conceivable weaknesses. They were 3rd in the majors with most home runs. They were 3rd in hits. Their average was a little shaky, but that's when they started really utilizing the platoon, and they do that as well as any team I've ever seen. This team, I mean, they've got the splits figured out. They've got righties against, that kill righties. Kevin Cash is a wise manager. They take advantage of this platoon, and they don't have conceivable weaknesses because they know how to play that card. Their bullpen's good. Their rotation's good. I mean, this team does everything well. Their defense is solid. They have a big advantage in a lot of cases over Boston, even though I'd say right now, at this point, Boston has the best player on the field at any given time in Devers and even Bogarts. But for the future, I think that the future of Major League Baseball is on the Tampa Rays, and that's Wander Franco. I think within 2 years, you're going to be talking about this guy as the best in the game. But right now, they do have the benefit of the best player. But nevertheless, I still think Tampa takes this series. I'm going to give it to them in 4. Moving on to the NL. You've got the Giants, the Dodgers. This game, this is another reason I have a problem with this seeding, man. This game should have been positioned for a possible NLCS matchup. These are the 2 best teams in baseball, and they're playing in a best of 3? What the fuck is that? That's due to the seeding shit, because they weren't a wild card team. They were the Dodgers didn't win a division, so we're going to stick them in this fucking 1-game winner-take-all, and now they get to play the Giants, and we get to throw a money-making series down the toilet in the NLDS. It's absurd. It's nuts. Any which way, I know the Giants just absolutely beat the hell out of the Dodgers in Game 1. They looked really good, and they continue to prove everybody wrong. There's nobody out there that is going to convince me they saw this coming. Not with Gabe Kapler as a manager, not with that lineup. The only real star they have right now that is still in his prime is Chris Bryant. I mean, Buster Posey looked shot at coming into the season. Many people thought his best days were behind him. Evan Longoria is a timeless wonder, but, you wondered how long the shoe was going to stay afloat with that. And you look at that pitching staff and you look at the other players in that lineup. I mean, you tell me one. Darren Ruff was in Korea a couple years ago, which what a kick in the balls that's got to be to Philly fans. You got Darren Ruff as your starting first baseman and Gabe Kapler as their manager. Meanwhile, the Phillies are sitting at home. Crazy to fucking even think about. But you look at that Giant lineup. I mean, it's crazy to think how good they've been. Talent, I got to give the advantage to the Dodgers. But talent doesn't always win out. And this Giant team, they went out there in game one and put the boots to the Dodgers. I don't think they're winning in 3. I think it comes down to a 5-game series. But then again, that could be a hindrance because in a 5-game series, you got to beat Walker Buehler. You got to beat Kershaw. You got to beat Scherzer. Good luck. I got to give it to the Dodgers in 5. Lastly, we've got Atlanta. We've got Milwaukee. The Brewers currently have a 1-0 series lead. To me, this one, Atlanta has a clear advantage with the bats. And that's even without Ronald Acuna. But you got Albies, you got Swanson, Austin Riley, you've got, Freddie Freeman. The bats are definitely there for the Braves. They have the better bats, in my opinion, even though I think the best player on the field, when he's on his A game, Christian Yelich, does play for Milwaukee. But again, I digress. That pitching staff, though, for Milwaukee, huge advantage. And that's Atlanta's Achilles heel. Their pitching is shaky at best. Milwaukee has the best pitcher in the National League this year on their roster in Corbin Burnes. I think he's going to win the NL Cy Young. Pitching beats hitting. That's the age-old additive. And I think that Milwaukee has enough bats to win this series. I think their pitching will overtake Atlanta. I think they take it in 4. Moving on to the championship series, you've got Los Angeles, Milwaukee. That pitching depth, again, beating that 3-headed monster is not easy to do for Los Angeles. And experience factor definitely goes to the Dodgers. I'm going to give LA this one. I think Milwaukee steals a couple of them, but I think the Dodgers win that in 6. And then in the AL, we've got Tampa and Houston. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one. I think talent perspective, I think Houston is the better team in terms of just the bats, the talent. You look at their lineup: Bregman, Correa, they just got such a loaded team. Tampa, though, man, this team, I feel, is the team of destiny. I can't overlook that. I'm going to say it's a 7-game play. I'm going to say it goes 7 games. I think Tampa picks up the W in 7. Like I said, I do think Houston has a better team. As I said, you got Bregman, you got I think there's that loaded lineup. And the pitching ain't exactly garbage either. But I picked Tampa in 7. And the World Series, we get a rematch. Tampa, LA. I can't remember the last time we actually saw a rematch in the World Series. We're going to see it this year. This time, though, I think the tides turn. I think Tampa is that team of destiny, man. I think Tampa, this is their year. I think they steal a World Series in 7 games. And finally, we get to stop talking about this dual bullshit that's going on. Hey, I got Tampa winning the World Series. I'm sure in a couple of weeks this will probably be proven wrong. Usually is. Anyway, guys, that wraps it up. You know the drill. Like, share, subscribe. Comment in the comment section below. And I will talk to you soon. Peace out.